Someday, after we have mastered the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness the energies of love. And then for the second time in the history of the world, men will have discovered fire. My name is Bruce Cryer. I've been working with HeartMath for the past 20 plus years, working in the field of health enhancement and stress reduction. I had a series of unfortunate health events over about a 2-year period, which led me to want to both tell my story and what happened to me and how I got through it all, but also got me in touch with what was missing in my life, part of which was music. The days are growing shorter, a chill is in the air. Everywhere I look, leaves are falling. Summer may be ending, but inside I feel new. Think it has something to do with you. How I got involved with music was through my parents, especially through my father. As an 8-year-old, I took up the trumpet and fell in love with a brass instrument. And all through school, I got very involved with music. And then by age 17, somebody thought I might have a good singing voice. Within 2 years, I was star of a show called The Fantastics, which is the longest-running musical in the world. So I'd gone from being a trumpet player in the high school band to being a star of the longest-running musical in a span of about 2 years. And I kind of like, what happened? It was kind of like the Roadrunner. How'd that happen so quick? My whole life was dedicated to singing, being on stage in front of people, but I was never myself, right? I was always playing the role of somebody else. And then the journey changed course a bit for me. And those of you who know much about my story know that it changed rather dramatically when I started having some uncomfortable symptoms around 3 years ago. And then a couple of tests and a meeting with the doctor who said, you have a growth and it's definitely cancer. So I became one of those people. And then the life review was happening. Like, what do I really want to do now? Do I just want to have everything like it was? No, it didn't quite feel that way. I spent enough nights in hospitals and enough doctor visits and enough parts of me pricked and poked and like, it was bladder cancer. Guys, I took one for the team. But there was this other piece that became like this huge message pounding in my chest. And it was that I needed to have music in my life again in a very significant way. My first thought was, I needed this guy.
I often jokingly say that music is the last unregulated drug, and thank God that it's unregulated because it's a magic potion. And I love to use music as a way to drop us into that rare moment when we're fully awake to life's preciousness. Do you remember who you are? Do you remember who you are? So, yeah, it goes on through the streets. So
it goes on.
Huh?
It goes on. It does go on.
It does go on.
Gary is one of the most remarkable human beings I have ever met. As I've told him many times, his music moves me to the core of my being almost every day. His creativity, his spontaneity, his willingness are all qualities that in our partnership now in developing these projects together is an absolute joy to work with.
All right, so what we're talking about is try to remember, okay, right.
Tried.
Ooh,
that was a nice, that was a good one. It'll sound better with the mic.
You know, Bruce and I met when we were both 18 years old in college, and I was always fascinated with him because I was the New York Jew and he was the New York Wasp, and we both loved the complementarity of our personalities. He was more calm and staid and deliberate and connected and said only what he needed to say, and I was talking all the time. We knew that we both loved the arts, but we also both wanted to make a contribution to the world that had to do with how can we use beauty to actually enhance people's capacity to feel grateful for life itself. What if music could be injected into that experience in a way that would soften people's hearts, that would shift their capacity to meet the moment rather than with denial and fear, but with empathy and acceptance and interconnectedness? I loved piano, and I started at 5 years old. No one else in the family had any idea about the power of music. And I literally gravitated towards it. My mother was arriving. I didn't know she had come.
I heard some music coming from the living room. Someone went to Europe and left a piano there. And I heard something coming from the piano, and I said, "What's that?"
And there I was. My hand found the melody. And it was a melody I'd heard in the air and played it. And my hand found the harmony. And before I know it, I was having a good old time.
When he plays, I feel like I'm just in heaven. I just could always tell his music, and I just love his music. Is that because I love my son? I don't know. I just like his music, and that's it.
So Jonathan Haidt from the University of Virginia did this study, and he found that when we were touched and moved and inspired to tears and chills and all the things that human beings are moved to, that he found that physiologically, anatomically, metabolically, that we are operating at our optimal state.
We have a crisis in our humanity. We can either open up and liberate the human spirit and bring that back into our lives and our work, or we totalize our humanity. Gary and Bruce invite us into new questions and new territory to consider what makes their heart sing. Because the heart is the source of our compassion, it's the source of our caring, it's the source of love, which ignites and unifies this work. It's the source of our spirit, it's the source of our humanity. We're so hungry for this deeper dimension that we don't even know it until they help us to remember it.
Try to remember the kind of September when grass was green and grain was yellow. So having the opportunity to actually develop something that we think can help ultimately many, many people find out what's really their passion and help them in their healing process if that's where they are in their life has been an incredibly fulfilling, surprising, adventure-filled journey that I'm pinching myself that this all has really transpired.
Bruce and I gathered together quite innocently to follow our love, which is our love of creating music and creating beauty. And out of that came a recognition that we had something we wanted to share to a larger community that bridged the arts and music into health and wellness in a deeper conversation. And that's what we're here today to do. When a child believes she'll live her dreams, her prayers are heard, she fears no thunder, and when she falls, she safely lands, guided by invisible hands. Held by invisible hands, held by invisible hands. Join me! Held by invisible hands, held by invisible hands. One more time! Held by invisible hands, held by invisible. Oh, you know it! We're held by invisible hands. Thank you, everybody. What makes your heart sing?
Thank you, man.
Singing makes my heart sing.
Me too.
Performing makes my heart sing. Connecting with friends makes my heart sing. So I'm figuring that we're walking our talk.
Taking photos of beautiful flowers and beautiful skies with my iPhone makes my heart sing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beauty
Beauty
makes my heart sing. Yeah.